I feel so already so moved and honored to see so many friends, old friends here today, and to spend some time with you reflecting on truly a remarkable life and its meaning. We've been asked to provide some stories and tributes, and I appreciate General Zhang. I mean, we're talking about 100 years of turbulent history and accomplishment and a life that encompassed all of it. So to start a little personally, I guess, I mean, my memory is of meeting General Paik. Of course, I knew who he was somewhat, I have to say, but meeting him first in 2008, very shortly after I had arrived in Korea as the new U.S. ambassador. And although I had lived in Korea in previous periods in my life, one of the things I was eager to do as ambassador actually was to visit the new war memorial, the museum that General Sharp mentioned, because I had memories and other story of the challenges of that land being acquired and that memorial built. And so I was really going there to see the museum and with my son. And I remember getting there and being told, well, General Paik Sun-hyup, who is the chairman, honorary chairman of the museum, wants to greet you. I said, oh, he really doesn't need to do that. It was kind of, but of course he did. And I'll always remember arriving at the museum and just getting into the building. As I turned down the hall, maybe we have a lot of military officers on this, but this was new to me. Here he was, a young 88 at that time, standing at the end of the hall, erect with a big salute, and my walking down that long hall while he held the salute. And what I really expected to be a bit of a courtesy call, I'd say on an elderly gentleman, turned into a long conversation where he signed his book From Busan to Panmunjom, engaged us in this long conversation. It was the beginning for me of, in his 9th decade of life, or of an extraordinary relationship with this man over my 3 years as ambassador. In particular, I recall, and I think General Sharp will as well, we were there in 2010, many things happened in 2010, but one thing was that it was the 60th anniversary of the Korean War. And of course, General Paik was tireless in his, not just his hospitality, but his readiness to engage and share with the many, many veterans, not only for the United States, but everywhere, who came back to mark that anniversary. But it wasn't only the veterans. One thing I did in the 10 years ago, so just this time, the summer of 2010, was lead a group of Korean university students to do a bicycle ride along the Nakdong perimeter. And as we went along, we actually were reading parts of his book, but it wasn't actually until we got to Uijambu, until we got to where the Battle of Dabudong was fought, and we actually saw a reenactment, that I began to get a sense of what that battle was all about. And I'm not a military historian, and how important he was in it. So it really gave me a sense of, something 60 years ago, what a contribution it was, and how he continued to find ways to share that, and not in terms of, if I may say, to a lot of former military, just telling old war stories as we all do, but really making it relevant to the young people today and the challenges. So what do I see as his contributions and legacy? I mean, General Zhang has summarized so many. I mean, as a civilian, as a diplomat, what I see as a student, I think, of the U.S.-Korea relationship over the years, clearly he was such a key figure in building the army, the extraordinary army and military of the Republic of Korea, and building an extraordinary relationship with the U.S. military, with the U.S. Army. And I've served in many countries. It is such an unusual relationship. It's informed so much by the deep personal commitments, as well as the kind of professional cooperation. He was central and remained central to that many, many years after he retired. But he also worked in so many ways to really broaden the alliance with the United States in the ways that I've described, but also in the South Korea taking its place in the world at large. I mean, the fact that he was, I didn't realize that it was 16 different ambassadorial positions, but these were in years when South Korea was battling in some ways for diplomatic legitimacy vis-a-vis North Korea, and did not have the money and the resources to have, or even sometimes diplomatic ties with all these countries. So this was really frontline diplomatic work that was going on. And what a great representative he was. The other thing I always thought about when I still do when I go back to Korea is the building of Korea's subway in Seoul. I actually lived in Korea before there was a subway, just as it was being built in the 1970s. And I think this has to go down as part of the legacy as well. So a legacy not only of defending and protecting and ensuring the survival of the Republic of Korea, but really of combining it with with an understanding of the sort of alliances, the sort of relationships, not only with the United States, but with the world, and the sort of economic development that was needed to really strengthen and allow the people of Korea to achieve all their potential. So I think about, we've lost General Paik. He made it through the 70th anniversary of Yu-Gi-Oh! of 625. He lived 100 years. I know in Korean age, he was over 100 years old. And I think his 100 years in that century, encapsulates, when you think, the year he was born and where he was born, and all that happened in the subsequent century, all of the turbulence, the tragedy, and the triumph of the Republic of Korea in some of its worst and best times. So it's a life to be remembered. It's a life to be studied. It's a life to be celebrated and learned from. And I really do feel honored to join all of you in doing that today.